What is up, everyone? Welcome to Tuesday, March 7th, another day. Really excited to talk about this topic today. I'm going to sip my coffee and get comfortable. See if anybody's going to join us live. Very, very, very important topic today. Let's get the chat going in case anybody has any questions. All right. And if you are joining me live, please feel free, or I encourage you to say hi in the chat. This sucks when you guys aren't engaged, but we're going to get going in a second. And if you have any questions regarding this issue, look in the description. If anything comes up for you, please put your questions in the chat. The answer to this question is fascinating. Fascinating. I'm going to say hi to everybody in the chat since no one's responding yet. Hello. There we go. All right. If you can see that and want to respond, please feel free. Maybe you're watching on Twitch, Facebook. What the hell is the other one? YouTube. All right, let's do it. You ready? Here we go. Should I count days in my quest to beat sex addiction and porn addiction? Does counting days keep me stuck? What are the downsides of counting dates? And so we're going to get into all that today. You're going to learn by the end of this discussion, you're going to learn exactly what you should be doing for you going forward. Because instead of me telling you what to do, I'm going to give you some principles to help you make the right decisions for you so you can be successful. And stick around to the end because my answer may surprise you. Welcome to Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions. My name is Craig Perrin. For the past 12 years, I've had the privilege of leading thousands of men to healthy sexuality and great lives. I've had the privilege of working with some of the most powerful, successful, athletic, and entertaining men in the world. I've appeared on the Steve Harvey Show, the Katie Couric Show, Lifetime Television, and A&E's digital addiction version of the show Intervention. I'm the founder of the Mindful Habit System, which is a supplement to or an alternative to traditional 12-step addiction treatment philosophy. I trained and continue to train physicians and licensed therapists in this model. So for my clients, right, this issue of sex addiction, porn addiction, or unhealthy sexuality, poor coping strategies, trauma, shame, low self-esteem, boundary issues, communication issues, right? This is a way more complicated than alcohol, and they need a far more complicated solution. So let's talk about, should I count days? And let me give you my perspective, just so you know. 75% of my clients come to me with traditional sex addiction or porn addiction therapy, a 12-step meetings under their belt. And for those guys, counting their days is a hallmark of their success, and for good reasons. We're going to get into that. In fact, right, counting days is like part and parcel of the model. These days are measured. They are rewarded in the 12-step model. In fact, people actually get chips, which is really, really cool to celebrate these really, really important milestones. Let me be clear. That is a wonderful thing. This broadcast is not a criticism in any way, shape, or form of that wonderful community that has people focusing on breaking bad habits, addictions, poor coping strategies. Okay? This is not that. What this is helping you understand and realize that, wait a minute, different people respond to different things. So I encourage you to treat this as a buffet. And here's the reality. Think about this for a second. Let's start with the premise, right? Everything has a cost. If I exercise too much, there's going to be costs to my family. There's a chance I could actually hurt my body. If I eat perfectly healthy, There are costs to that. I'll lose out on sweetness and desserts, and maybe some celebratory moments like a birthday cake because I can't eat that. There is always a cost. And here's a perspective that one of my business minded executive clients said when this finally clicked into for him, because he's been counting days for years, 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 years. He said, wait a minute, you can't let compliance run the organization. So, for my guys with some corporate background, just take that in. Think about that for a second as we go through what I hope is to be a very, very important dissection. You can't let compliance run the organization. And so, what we're going to get in today, and I'm going to use an example of identity. So, if you haven't read the book Atomic Habits yet, it is mandatory. Everyone must read Atomic Habits by James Clear. Chapter 2 of Atomic Habits, Mr. Clear talks about the three levels of change. There are three levels of change. The first level of change is outcome change, sobriety. I'm not doing the thing. I've achieved the outcome. The second layer of change, which is better, but not great, is process change. Here are the things that I am doing to create the outcome change. The third level of change, the most important level of change, the only level of change that sticks and produces sustainable results, period, bar none, is identity change. And let me give you an example of identity change. So, if you are listening and you have used heroin before, you are excluded from this exercise. I'll come up with one for you in a second. But for my non heroin users, I want to ask you a question. When is the last time you used heroin? Heroin is bad. Heroin could have fentanyl in it. Heroin can kill you. It'll certainly ruin your life. But when is the last time you used heroin? Well, I never used it. But listen, I have used it, and I don't know the last time I haven't used it. And there's a very important reason that I don't know the day. And listen, different strokes for different folks, right? Please, please, please remember that as you're listening to this. Different people respond to different things. You don't know the time when you last used heroin or how many days you haven't used heroin because you don't use heroin. That's identity. I don't do that anymore. I don't, no, I don't self harm. I don't lie to my partner. I don't steal this money to buy drugs. No, I don't do that. I don't do that. And for some of you guys who are watching porn, I asked the question, well, why haven't you cheated? Well, and boom, 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 boom. Reason, 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 reason. Important reasons, valid reasons, right? Why don't those reasons apply to the secret hiding sex life that you're having with pornography? That's identity change. That's identity change. So, what we're going to get into now is where might this counting, what are the costs of counting so you can appropriately address them? So, first of all, counting is too symptom centric. And that violates the golden rule of behavior modification. To break a habit, you have to make a habit. So it's actually to break a habit, you have to make the right habits that meet the right need. But notice, just like the feed the right wolf story, which one wins, the good one or the bad one? The one you feed. So if this statement is true, to break a habit, you have to make a habit. That means that you making habits is conditioned upon you breaking habits. So the making habit should be the primary metric. So the conflict with break a habit, make a habit. Second potential conflict with self-help principle is that which you resist persists. Freud uttered those famous words, I think in 1967. They still hold true today. That which you resist persists. The more you focus on not doing something, the more power that something has over you, the more it consumes you, the more it becomes your identity. A porn addict counts days. He knows exactly when it is, and often for people who struggle with counting days, they're holding on for dear life. It's what's called white knuckling it, and so it hasn't become easy for them because they haven't created identity change. So that which you resist persists. Here's another important perspective that I've learned over the years, and that is sobriety. Not doing the thing is literally less than 10% of the solutions. For some of the reasons we've talked about, and for reasons we're going to talk about, to break a habit, you have to make a habit, identity change, purpose, healthy sexuality, great life, oldest coping strategy. Goodness gracious. Not doing the thing is it's such a teeny tiny part of the solution. And for those of my long-term followers, you know, if you go back, maybe we run these through AI someday and it finds it where I said sobriety is 50% of the solution, 49%, because I knew it had to be 51, right? I must have said 51. Then it went down to 40%, 30%, 20%. The longer I do this, the longer I'm helping men in their long-term sustainable journey, the more data points I get regarding the challenges inherent in that long-term sustainability journey, the lower that percentage becomes. Sobriety is literally less than 10% of the solution. Another criticism is that it contributes for some people all or nothing thinking. So, take for example, the person that I learned about who had thousands of hours of sobriety with pornography, thousands of hours with sobriety. 4 minutes, 4 minutes of those thousands of hours literally became his identity, literally back to square one, ruined everything. That is a myth. First of all, there is no such thing as back to square one. It's a factual misrepresentation of what's happening. First of all, second of all, you learning from those mistakes is literally part and parcel of you being more successful and not making those mistakes. So there is the risk that counting days for some people contributes to an all or nothing philosophy, which causes them harm. For others, counting days thwarts mindfulness. So instead of focusing on the here and now, they're obsessing over their last use. They know exactly when it was. They know exactly what happened. They've got a detailed vision of their mind of that event and what happened after that event and the suffering that occurred after that event, and obsessing over the next milestone, the next big day. For others, it keeps the focus on the quantity of sober days versus the quality of sober days. And obviously, the quality of those days is the primary metric of long term success. So, for others, it's flawed for them when the symptom, and by the way, listen, in 12 years, I have yet to work with a person whose primary problem was sex addiction or porn addiction or had anything to do primary. That does not mean there weren't secondary problems and tertiary problems, but never once was the sex or porn the primary problem because the behavior is the symptom. And for some of you brothers in porn addiction treatment and sex addiction treatment, think about how many times you have talked about porn. Think of the questions that you have answered about pornography on intake. Think of the daily time in your sessions allotted to pornography. In my world, for the clients who thrive in my program, if we're not like a 1 to 9 ratio, 9 of 10 aggressively pursuing a great life, um, uh, let's say 2 or 3 healthy sexuality to 7. Healthy sexuality is the identity, not the porn addict. Evolving into a healthy sexual man who, no, I don't do that anymore. I don't lie to my wife. I don't keep secrets. Here's another one, brothers. This is why identity is so important. No, I do not self harm. I do not self harm. Because for most of you, if you're listening to me right now, this behavior isn't hedonistic, pleasurable, or even a sexual experience. It is shame. It is self harming, and building an identity of someone who doesn't do that is critical. So let me answer the question right now, once and for all. Should I count days? And the answer obviously is yes. So for example, if you've got a business and it is critical that this business not do the thing, like how many safe days, you've seen that, right? How many days without an accident? Critically important, but it is secondarily counting days should be secondary to counting the days in which you practice self-care, exercised, connected with another human being, was vulnerable, stopped hiding, did something that makes you feel good about yourself. So, yes, count days, but make counting days secondary to the make a habit part of the equation. And you will find that if you are a fit for that kind of approach, if you've been struggling with counting days and you're not getting the results you seek despite a considerable amount of effort, then that means that you might get value in trying something else. And because to break a habit, you have to make a habit, because that which you resist persists, because sobriety is 10% of the solution, a number that keeps getting lower and lower the longer I have the privilege to help guys. 28 countries all over the world, every different religious group, every different demographic, it gets lower and lower and lower. So lead with the healthy sexuality metrics. Lead with the self-care, self-esteem, connection metrics. Why connection? Because the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it is connection. One caveat, disclaimer, or a point of clarification. I want to make it abundantly clear that this is in no way suggesting that counting days is wrong, that it's a bad thing. You heard my answer. You should absolutely do it. Obviously, you got to pay attention to the thing that you don't want to do that's causing so much pain in your life. If you are counting days and you are thriving, then this message is not for you. This is for the guys who are focusing on the wrong things and who would get great value focusing on the right things. Why? Because another critical lesson that we've learned over the past 12 years, my wife and I, we've run this company from beautiful Northern California, is different people respond to different things. And that's why we're trying to attract our avatar. Who's the client who's going to get the great value from this program versus someone who isn't, right? And you should be thinking about that in your treatment, whatever you're doing. It should be bringing you great value. If it's not, maybe you need a different approach. Maybe you need the mindful habit. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Craig Pera with the Mindful Habit System. Visit me on the web at www.mindfulhabithelp.com. You can call to schedule an appointment. You can call to ask questions. You can reach out and learn all about our different programs, including our core training program. And attached somewhere down below is a link to get 36% off that core training program. So check it out. Thank you for listening, and embrace your power of choice. Feed the right wolf. Just an announcement. We are having our first ever mindful habit retreat coming up. And it's going to be awesome. And we are so excited. And I'm so proud of that. So if you're coming, um, can't wait. We are so prepared. And we are so proud to be leading this incredible group of men. So thanks for listening. Embrace your power of choice. Feed the right wolf. Bye bye. I'm going to hang out for a second to see if any of you great guys listening now have any questions. I'll give you a minute to ask those questions. If not, I will end this live stream. Thank you so much for listening. Hope it helped. Hope it gave you some perspective. All right. Well, everyone, you have a great day. Take it easy. Bye bye.